Hey, this is Dwayne Smith from AthensTennis.com, and today I want to talk to you for a few minutes about losing tennis matches, how to deal with losses, and more importantly, how to become a better player after losses. Now, the first thing we need to understand is we're all going to lose. Even the top player in the world, number one in the world, is going to lose some matches. Hopefully they're going to win a lot more than they lose, but they're going to lose some. So losing is normal, and dealing with losses and more importantly becoming a better player afterwards is the important thing. Now let me tell you, I'm as competitive as the next guy. When I'm on the tennis court, I'm going to do what I can to try to win. I'm going to hustle for the ball and hit my shots and try to play smart and try to win. But there's going to be days when it doesn't happen. You play players that are clearly better than you, and of course they're going to win, and sometimes you're in those close matches where it's kind of a toss-up and you're going to lose some of those as well, right? There's nothing wrong with losing to a better player or a better team, but what we should try to do is figure out how to learn from those losses. Now, as soon as you lose a match, a lot of people, when they come off the court, they just want to forget it and move on. But what you should think about is, what did the winning player do? What did they have that I didn't? Were they more consistent than I was? Did they do better shot selection? Did they position themselves on the court better? That type of stuff. So what is it that they did that you should try to emulate or work on or follow? And the other thing is, what did they do to my game? What did they exploit my weakness? Did they make me hit backhands? Did they bring me into the net? Did they lob over my head well? So you need to analyze what they did right and try to emulate that. But also try to figure out what they did to your game. What are your weaknesses, and can you work on those weaknesses in the future to become a better player? Right? I tell people that I think you should win somewhere between 40 to 80% of your matches. And the reason I say that is if you lose too many, you lose more than you win, sometimes people get discouraged and give up, and it's probably time to move down to an easier level so you can, be more competitive and win some. But on the other end of that spectrum, there's players I know that want to win all the time, and they're only happy if they've won 90-95% of their matches. Well, they're not playing good enough players, and they're really not elevating their game or improving much in the future by staying at that level. So somewhere between 40 and 80% is kind of good. Lower than that, you probably need to drop down. Higher than that, you probably need to bounce up. Now, dealing with a tough loss, we've all had those losses where we sort of let a match get away. Maybe you had some match points and you couldn't put the match away. Maybe you were ahead, 4-1 in the third set, and they came back and beat you. Maybe in tiebreaker you were way up and you lost the tiebreaker. So those are tough losses to deal with sometimes. And the way that I think about that is it tends to even out in the long run. You've won some matches that you probably shouldn't have won. You were down 5-2 in the third set and came back and won it. Your opponent had 4 or 5 match points and didn't win it or whatever. So in the long run, those tend to even out. Remember, it's just a tennis match. You and I don't do this for a living. The sun's still going to rise tomorrow. The grass will be green. The birds will be chirping. God will be in his heaven. So kind of keep it in perspective. It's just a tennis match, right? Now, the last thing I want to talk about is winning and losing with class, because unfortunately, there's a lot of poor examples out there. When you win, you should be grateful and humble. And when you lose, you should be gracious. Okay? There's nothing more unpleasant than seeing a winner who's very egotistical and full of himself or herself. And there's also nothing more unpleasant than seeing a poor loser, somebody who's griping and complaining and making excuses and stuff. So basically, win with class and lose with class. When I shake hands at the end of the match, I always try to find something positive to say to my opponent, whether I won or lost. If I lost, I congratulate my opponent, tell them they had a good game, they're a tough player, they deserve to win. And if I win, I try to tell my opponent something positive as well. Usually pick out something in their game that they were good at. You have a very good forehand, you serve well, you hustle for the ball, that type of stuff. Remember, the famous football coach Paul Brown had an interesting quote, and it goes like this: when you win, say nothing, and when you lose, say even less. And tennis players with class should try to follow that advice. Dwayne Smith, AthensTennis.com. Get out there and hit some tennis balls.